auction of like, $100, $200, so anyway, yeah, so it's a little different theme and whatnot, and it should be fun.
Yeah, it's exciting. It sounds fun.
Well, Robbie's very much enjoying buying stuff to decorate the museum. So, it's I'm very curious as to what it's going to look like. They got these ideas, and we're just giving free reign. But it's kind of for me, it's going to be a challenge to really visualize what it's going to look like, and the whole vibe until it actually happens.
Need to make sure I got this on my calendar.
Yeah, March 2nd, 6:30. Hey, Ann.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Morning. All right.
Morning.
Hey, what time zone are you in? Way out there in Richmond?
Uh, I'm never sure what time it is.
Right.
Just ongoing fun.
Yep. Oh, no doubt. Tom Benzing's in your neck of the woods. He's camping out I think he's out there for Conservation Day, with the legislature. So he's kind of wearing multiple hats, but he's kind of, being our kind of watchdog over, some of the activities going on in the various House and Senate committees. So, but it looks like we're on top of everything. So far so good.
Good.
Yeah, nothing significant has happened yet. It sounds like there's some kind of pro forma committee meetings that everyone already knows what the outcome is going to be, and they're considering actually eliminating these meetings and going more with the committee memos. So that apparently behind the scenes is under discussion. But yeah, but at least there's nothing negative. There's nothing odd going on that we should be worried about.
Yeah, a lot of the meeting is just them reading the bill or saying, yes, we're behind it.
Yeah,
it's real quick. And
right. And then we'll be out there. God, is that next week?
It is.
Oh God. Okay, well, we're gonna be out at the General Assembly building putting leave behinds Wednesday of next week. So that's gonna be pretty simple. We got enough personnel. Of course, board members are welcome to come by if they want to spend some time running around putting blisters on their feet. But yeah, we've got a pretty straightforward leave behind message. And this year we decided for a what am I trying to say? Non-monetary or non cheap gift. Nothing that anyone has to worry about recording.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting custom cookies made by a local bakery. It's going to have the DMNH logo on them, so we can leave them behind for the legislative aides.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good move. And by the way, I am out of town next week, and I'm going to miss the board meeting. Sorry.
Ooh, okay, well, we'll miss you. You guys want to go ahead and get things started? I see our board chair isn't here, but maybe we can start some of the discussions.
I just emailed Cord just to check in, but Phil, he's got it on his calendar. We can get started.
You guys good with that?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'll just let Ryan walk through the agenda just to keep us organized, and then we can. Do we have a forum?
Yes.
Okay, we do have a forum.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will do Cord's welcome remarks. Welcome, and I will turn things over to Jonathan. We have a lot of good stuff to report. Yeah, Jonathan, if you want to hit the finances.
Excellent. So I'm just going to take everybody through. You can see we're going to work on the second quarter balance sheet. Going through just to explain the central accounts distribution. So this is a yearly account distribution we receive from the budget office. The way it works is the governor starts with the proposed budget. So we receive our base budget really from that first bill that comes out, the 3.2 million, and then the legislature goes to work on amendments and additions, and we're in the lucky camp where additions are currently happening for us. So we're expecting about 250,000 to 300,000 now in the account distribution bucket to come in. That'll cover raises for staff this fiscal year, and then it also covers well, it was a one-time bonus originally, And it was changed in the short session, year or so ago to a 2% increase for staff, going forward. So the 250, kind of the original number there, that's bumped up a little bit because of the 2% ongoing, for all staff. Let's see, admissions to the museum, just really excited, just kind of straight line, standard operating here. Looking forward to the exhibit opening on the 10th. Everybody be around for that. And then of course, April 21st, 19th, 21st, we'll have another festival. So we'll have Reptile Fest coming up to boost those numbers. I think I highlight that it kind of slows down in the colder months and then picks up in the spring and summer as kids get out of school. We'll start seeing admissions really spike during those times. And of course, got to highlight Christy Deathridge's work with the city and county. She's worked through city council turnovers and new board administrators in the county, and she does a good job every year of communicating to them our budget and working with them to get the yearly gifts we receive from them. So much so we're working to count on those every year. Again, looking further down the list here, restricted gifts from the foundation. That money's there, so it's sitting on the foundation side. We had a really strong fundraising season last year. These grants, it's stable. The carryover funds are forthcoming for projects like the pavilion near the rear of the building. New staff at the CHML, so volunteer staff they're getting paid there. All that comes over as needed from the foundation. Classes and workshops, another exciting point. Christy and staff really doing a great job. Education works, to create strategically designed experiences, captivate, educate, and just kind of pushing us forward with a lot of momentum here. Last year, I think I harped on that a lot, is the overall growth in that. So we got Jordan Brim, who was a new staffer we added last year. And I think just having that room to breathe in education, we've added programs, the programs more in depth, that gives staffers time to work on, their new offerings really. And I think that's been tremendous for us. Special fund carryover, that also highlights kind of the ongoing CHML new hires. We also just had a real strong fundraising year. So just the general support we carry over year to year with the staff growing is key. So that special fund is solid 2 months really of to get us through. And so any questions on revenues before I jump over to expenses? All righty. So expenses right in line, not boring, nothing's ever boring, but right in line. Salaries increase. We had to hire the sustainability technician for Tim's building and grounds operation there. So that's exciting. Also, just I noted kind of earlier that 2% increase going forward for staff. So that one-time bonus is throwing things kind of to the higher side going through the end of the year. But we do expect that central account distribution to cover those additional charges. And that is pretty soon around the corner. It's been a while. It's been longer this year. Normally we get it in the beginning of the second quarter, but I think early third quarter is pretty much from talking to the budget analyst. Of course, I get nervous, but talking to the budget analyst, she always calms me down. She says that money's coming to you, Jonathan. Quit bothering me. She appreciates that. Another really kind of key point, the staff training. This is a strategic partnership between the board of trustees, the foundation board, and the museum staff. Going forward year over year, we had another $7,500 set aside for staff training. And such a list of things, just opportunities such as conferences, presentations, workshops, training sessions, museum visits. Just the fund really reflects the continued support and ongoing support of continued learning for staff. Really excited. 3 of my staff participated in conferences that they would have normally been able to go to. I think it's really helped them networking and just I don't want to say professionalism, but just their worldly knowledge of accounting and systems and how things work kind of in state government and also the private sector. I think that's been a real key number there. And moving on to the insurance, I'll leave this one in just kind of as a good example of things we pay later in the year. If money's available, if not, carries over. So this year's insurance is it's already been paid, right? So we paid it last fiscal year, and then we have to do the same next fiscal year. All things are equal. All right. Covers 1 and 2. Everybody still excited about finance? All right, go. We keep going on to capital projects. Everybody's
Yeah, let me just summarize by saying we're very confident with where things are. The projected budget, of course, is a guiding star, and it's been pretty doggone close this year. So we don't foresee any red marks in the next well, really 5 months.
Yeah.
You know.
moves faster than we love it.
Yeah, and it looks like if we continue at the pace on the revenue side, I'm thinking more about admissions to the museum. You know, it looks like we might exceed our budget on revenues.
I would hope so. I think it's pretty close. I wanna, well, all knock on wood there. That's some things are out of our control.
Right.
Which I learned during COVID. So I got overly optimistic going into that, and now it didn't pay for it, of course, but the numbers reflected my overzealous optimism.
But, you know, just to kind of connect things, you know, you're covering advancement report leader, and the Ryan will cover advancement report, and that kind of shows our trends. And, you know, you'll see in terms of year-to-date numbers, as long as those trends continue, it should be just what you say, and we should have a slight excess of funds towards the end of the year
Mm-hmm.
in terms of revenue.
All right, jumping on over to capital projects. Some of the bigger goals we have for the museum. Just to highlight number 2, maintenance reserve funded projects. So Douglas Avenue, news there. Typically we work project by project. We've gotten approval from the Department of General Services to lump all that into an AE term contract. So we've completed the roof, and then now we're going to move on to the whole building. So that'll be plumbing, electrical, interior, the exterior. Of course, it's all budget driven, so we got a lot of wishes, a lot of hopes and dreams for it. And I think getting the AE firm on as a term contract is gonna create that. You know, we're not gonna have to piecemeal things later. You know, that we're gonna add it all now, and I think we're gonna get a lot more for our money at this point. Having him look at the overall building instead of just doing, you know, you do electrical, you do plumbing and HVAC, and then now you're fixed on a certain floor plan. Whereas he can look at it now and say, well, if we eliminate one wall here, we save X dollars there, we can, you know, really increase the efficiency of the building and the space and meet some needs that we need met for storage. Just that really, it's really helpful moving to that term contract position there. Of course, that's a maintenance funded project, so the funds are available. It's all about getting going. I think this Thursday, this week, speaking of things we're doing, we'll meet with the AE firm, which we selected to have that term contract to go over kind of the 30,000 foot view and see what they think. So it's good news. And capital projects moving forward on the another partnership with the foundation here, and as well as some maintenance reserve funding, the education pavilion. We've been talking about it for a while. We do have a trailer, construction trailer on premises now, with hopes and confirmations that construction should start at the beginning of February here.
This is the pavilion.
No, the education pavilion, the Gene S. Adams Education Pavilion, to the rear of the building, which you guys know we've been working on for a while now. But things are finally coming together for us. Funding, timeline, materials. It's been about a year trying to find a contractor that would pour concrete for us. I think we went over that just to refresh everybody's memory. Went out for bid one time and couldn't find a contractor that had a firm that was willing to pour concrete. So
Well,
yeah, and we got that. So we gave them we extended the timeline on the project just to allow for the contract subcontractor to get on board with the project and feel comfortable doing that. So again, money's in the foundation, money's in maintenance reserve for that. Should be flying forward here shortly.
quick question. It says the stairs exiting the building down to Oakdale Street will be renovated to meet code.
Yes,
What's
ma'am.
the issue?
So they're too narrow. They're built too narrow, improved too narrow. during the first construction of the facility.
So in 2007, whoever was responsible for looking at the blueprints and ensuring that everything was up to code, which is both on the state side and whoever our,
Contractor.
contractor and, what do you call it?
The intermediary, the representative, I can't remember.
Yeah, everybody missed it. So, based upon building design, this was just something that was missed. And then, of course, we opened that can of worms innocently when we started looking at, the design for the pavilion and, General Services came back and said, hey, your stairs even right now aren't up to code.
Right.
So that influenced the design and therefore the setting aside of maintenance reserve funds specifically to provide stairs that meet code.
Yeah, it's something like another 9 feet we need, or it's a substantial difference from code to regular. Yeah.
You're not going to remember what they look like, but they do. I mean, in retrospect, after we were told, it was like, yeah, these do look kind of narrow. I mean, they're less narrow than our stairwells. And that should have sent off alarms with someone back in 2006, 2007, but it never did.
Jumping on to Waynesboro, kind of the elephant, so to speak, of projects that we have going now. Joe alluded to it earlier, Nathan and just that we're currently working with the General Assembly to try to push the project forward in fiscal year 2025 into that capital fund. So it'll be the Virginia Public Bond Authority funded project. Hopefully with some general funds backing us up following, but just really exciting work going on now in Richmond. The city of Waynesboro, of course, hired lobbyists to help us with that. Tom Benzing on the board now in Richmond, kind of shepherding that project through. Things are moving this time of year when things happen for us. So, like I said, right now we're not arguing over whether the building will be built or won't be built. It's just a matter of timing as when it'll be built. So,
And just FYI, related to all this, what's come up more recently is that the championing legislators, that's Delegate Ellen Campbell and Senator Chris Head, they have both signed off on budget adjustments, one for general funds, which is probably unlikely. I mean, that's what the tea leaves say. So that's between $35 to $40 million, but probably not going to happen. However, there does seem to be a better likelihood of a bond issuance by VBPA. And so basically they put in 2 budget adjustments, one for general fund and one for any bond that is issued. So that just circles back to Tom's presence in in Richmond, just making sure all the I's are dotted and T's crossed. So far, they look that way.
Sounds good.
all right. New budgets, well, the proposed budget for fiscal year 25.
Yeah, so just to tee this up, as you both know, staff has done projections based upon the current fiscal year's numbers and have cobbled together a proposed budget starting July 1st of this year. So Jonathan synthesized all of it, and this is your opportunity to ask questions or ask us to make adjustments to it, and then to vote on a motion, which one of you kind of have to become sort of acting treasurer for the morning. You have to, okay, thank you, Ann. You have to vote on approval to bring this or a modified budget to the board as a recommendation at the board meeting in 2 weeks.
I'm just having looked it over. I was looking for kind of changes from one year to the next. And, you know, obviously in our 2 biggest areas, salaries and payroll benefits, but also contractual services. I see that we've decreased contractual services by, call it 42,000, but we've increased salaries by about 200 and benefits by about 70, 65. So kind of why are contractual services down? And why are we looking at higher salaries and payroll benefits?
Well, fantastic question. So salaries, payroll benefits, so reflected in the contractual services, really that sustainability technician we hired on is going to hopefully replace a lot of those contractual services. Also mixed into that number, contractual service, there's the maintenance reserve projects going on. Really should be fixing things that we shouldn't have to have those continued maintenance contractual services obligations on. Also, the recently completed ESCO project really did a full recommissioning of our HVAC, lighting, electrical. So that is helping things come down on that contractual obligation side as well. Lots of times now it's just really paying them to come in and test things. So under their contractors, they're contracted to do the work as well. So when something breaks, fan VFD unit in the HVAC, they're also contracted to do that. So that falls under the contract instead of us having to put out a bid on EVA to have that done.
So yeah, basically, it's the idea that that's part of the reason we hired a person. That was something that the General Assembly approved as a new position. They gave us the salary and benefits increase there. And so at the same time, too, all the work that we've done and will do through either, again, the grant-driven ESCO project or more recently with Maintenance Reserve, we'll be focusing on those projects rather than, others that would require contracts.
So, looking at the benefits, yeah, Social Security, group life, blah, blah, blah. Has the health insurance gone up dramatically? We've got 466 in the 24 budget, and I don't know what it is this year. I was just trying to look at the benefits, why it went up.
I think consistently goes up every year. I'd have to get that number for you though.
That's okay. And yeah. So
Also, just on salaries too, we've taken on a lot of the O2. So we have 41 full-time positions, which were allowed. And then out of that, those part-time positions get filled in that way. So there's $157,000, just doing that from earlier doing that calculation, 157,000 of O2 spending. It's kind of new from CHML, 11 interns to research analysts. So that's also that's kind of a mix, that salary number.
got it. I'm just trying to think of questions that the board might ask.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Just again doing the compare contrast. I see that utilities has gone down a fair amount.
Yeah, we're excited by that.
Is that the project on the roof?
It is. It's a combination of several things. Project on the roof was one that's solar, and then the upgrade to the HVAC system, and then EV charger revenue, whole basket. And also we renegotiated, staff worked to renegotiate our utilities rate with the city. So when standard utility rate to a large consumer, which is it's what we should be on. So they were willing to move us over. We're not quite there, or we average around the number they need, but just ask them nicely, and they're a good partner with us. So they were able to move us over. I think that'll be $21,000 to $25,000 in savings.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, I mean, I guess you kind of know this, or at least I did, because they told us, but the numbers are borne out that it's the switch over to everything to LED that's been probably proportionally the most significant driver of reduction in our utilities.
Huh.
Yeah. But it was how many bulbs, Jonathan?
I was like 2,300 or something.
Yeah,
it's a lot. That's ballast and bulbs and the whole shebang. And also, the reason it's proposed budget is because the city's right now talking about increasing their utilities by 5%. So that the savings will go away over time, will be eroded by additional increases by the city of Martinsville, but they have to pay their bills too, which we understand.
Yep.
So yeah, they through COVID, they didn't raise, and now I think it's 19% in 2 years, and then another 5% on top, which is, they, like I said, they gotta pay the bills. Everybody's gotta do business.
Yeah, I mean, that's from what I see, that looks like, the biggest changes. And yeah, you've got insurance going up,
Mhm.
probably a good call. Yeah. I mean, it looks pretty straightforward to me. And I'm glad you took the emissions number up, since we will probably make that number this year.
Yes.
Agreed.
It's not quite a straight trend line, but it's a pretty solid trend line on 12, between 6 and 12% growth every year, and then 12 is pretty much the standard deviation.
Yeah, and the same goes for classes and workshops. It looks like that'll probably come in at about what our number will be for the full fiscal year.
Yeah.
We did have a discussion about education program price increases. Did we initiate that? I don't think we have.
I think we're talking summer camps right now, so maybe
Right.
if we're making that change, it's gonna be later on.
Yeah,
Nothing's
yeah,
been announced.
yeah, just, we kind of, last year, kind of were running through some numbers and just noticed that we haven't had, like, the summer camps and education programs and homeschooling have all been level as far as the fees go. And so, we're talking about a modest increase just to keep up with expenses and so forth. I don't think it's gonna come as a shock, simply because, again, it's been so long. I don't know the last time we had a price increase offhand.
Yeah. Other than that, Nathan, do you see anything that you want to ask about?
I don't have any particulars about individual line items. I kind of have more of a general question about the Commonwealth support, and I might have brought this up in years past, but there continues to be a small movement here in Roanoke to try to get the Virginia Museum of Transportation to become a state-funded agency, and I think it's failed a couple times in a row. There's somebody probably local that always sponsors a bill and then it ends up not passing. But I do wonder, if a new organization joins, does the pot grow, or does the slice of the pie get smaller for each of the member organizations?
When was the last time this has happened? Maybe, was it us?
Probably.
I mean, it could have very well have been us in the 1980s.
I think they found the money. Well, I'm saying they found the money. So,
I mean, I assume it wouldn't go into effect for many years if there was some sort of effect, if it even happened. It's just something I've been vaguely aware of, and I just at least wanted to mention it.
Yeah, we've kept our finger on that pulse, and in fact, I've talked to the lobbyists representing the effort and so forth. So even he admits that, while there's great desire and he's going to continue to do his best, his assessment was not exactly rosy.
Gotcha. No, but otherwise, I think the numbers, I appreciate the discussion, but I'm comfortable with the numbers.
Do you have any sense if transportation has an endowment?
I believe they do, but I don't know that they share that information. I could be wrong though.
I'll do some digging. I haven't really done a lot with looking into their background, but that might be interesting to know a little bit more about.
and then Roanoke City's got it's 1,100 jobs coming for Wells Fargo. That should be solid kick to the economy.
Right. You'd like to think.
Yeah. But
Well-
that's the only reason I saw the transportation bill to fund the museum, but they're also behind that is the 1,100 new jobs, so maybe that'll, they're paying personal income tax revenues and that all mixes together and they kind of forecast everything based on that.
And I think there's been a bill at least the last 2 years that's failed. So it could just be, they're just going to keep hammering it until something happens, but who knows?
You gotta ask.
So, we need to approve taking this budget to the board.
Yes, as a recommended budget for the next fiscal year. So so Nathan has to make a motion. By default, you second it and you all vote in favor, should that be your desire.
Alrighty, so
I would-
I'll just say, are we in favor of recommending this to the full board, this budget, Nathan?
Yeah, I move that we do that. And
I second it.
And by default, you all vote aye.
yeah, I vote aye.
Aye.
That's the,
Here's no,
that's
motion carries.
that's the great part of
Yeah.
the two-person committee.
Well, that takes care of that.
Yeah, we're excited about, the stability we're experiencing, and that's kind of coupled with some upticks in revenues as well as foundation support and so forth. So it's been a good year plus here.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, well, I will take on number 3. So we're gonna talk about recent and pending support. So you all have a copy of the advancement report. So just want to highlight overall, charitable gifts are up 98% over last year. So that's through December 31st. So the first and second quarter. Last year was a good year, but it's up 98% this year, which is great. So that's a combination of unrestricted funds, restricted gifts, grants, corporate partnerships, really across the board. Things are going well. So we're seeing membership upticks at festivals. We're seeing, again, mission-driven grants, partnerships that are really taking everything forward. Just research grants alone in the last month, we've got 631,000 in pending and secured research grants. So that's 172,000 for CHML. So we're going to see those funds in payments over the next year. We have an invoice now for 74,000 that we expect any day, so that'll be great. And then we've got a couple of NSF grants, both for paleontology and herpetology, that make up the other portion of those funds. So that's very exciting. The foundation, of course, staff work with the curators on these grants, help manage the funds, administer the funds. We also just recently closed out an IMLS grant. So that was another federal grant for about 20,000 for the microscopy lab, which you'll see in a couple of weeks at the board meeting. So that's where the meeting will be held. Very exciting. Did the final report for that. All the partners were happy. You can track numbers served, students served, things like that. So very mission-based, strategic partnership.
Hey, could I also point out, this was just, it was just pleasing for us because, going back over a decade, we'd always talk to the foundation about, increasing steadily our support. That'd be support for the endowment that Ron will cover, support for annual fund, memberships, et cetera. And we're starting to see that, but sort of a little nugget of success that really stood out for me. We had our single largest annual fund contribution come in I think it was December. And we had Lisa Carter, as well as one of our foundation officers, reach out to that person specifically, as I did as well. And as well as the people who kind of got behind him and suggested that he provide a gift. So the people that were kind of behind him were our long-term members, that are people who come to all of our events and so forth. It's a couple, they're both dentists out in Henry County and whatnot. And they convinced this gentleman to provide a gift that was $10,000 versus his other gifts were either individual memberships or maybe a $250 annual fund contribution. And this kind of came out of the blue. So I just think that speaks to kind of the maturity that we see of the foundation museum relationship, and therefore the efficacy. So I just wanted to point that out as kind of not totally unexpected. We think we're pretty cool. People who want to support something good for the community should be. providing those kinds of gifts to us, but yeah, it was still very nice to see.
Absolutely. And yeah, as far as other grants, several in process. So we're working on the Virginia Tourism Corporation has a new program for events and festivals. So it's brand new. It's opens up February 8th. We're gonna take part in that. So hopefully get some matching funds to further expand our science outreach festivals specifically. Also working on looking at options for an upcoming Dominion Energy Charitable Foundation proposal. So once that cycle opens up, we're going to do some research. We've gotten grant support before, so we're going to look at options for that to further, again, expand science outreach. And then we're working with the Community Foundation, recently received support to further expand Museums for All, which of course is a huge priority. Speaking of Museums for All, I just want to highlight on page 4 of the report, you can see that our second quarter percentage of Museums for All visitors was over 20%. So first quarter, we were at 16%, second quarter, 20%. That's a percentage of overall visitors that came in through the Museums for All program. So we're very excited about that. I know we've talked about it every time. But we have good partnerships for that. So of course, Hooker Furnishings, Carter Bank and Trust, and most recently, the Community Foundation here locally, Community Foundation serving Western Virginia. So that program continues to grow. It's directly, you know, who we are, what our priority is. So we're going to continue expanding that as well. Let's see, as far as other thing I want to highlight, there's a lot of information obviously, but on the last page, it's a new addition to the report. It's basically a snapshot of the Science Festivals initiative that came about in spring 2017. It was after a Board of Trustees retreat, a lot of discussion, and festivals were identified as a huge priority of area of growth going forward. So we're at the 6, almost 7-year mark, and it's really a success story. It's a highlight of the collaboration between the trustees, foundation board, and of course staff implementing. So festivals have grown significantly. We've established new partnerships, growth in memberships across the board. It's been a huge strategic success. So we really want to highlight that. It's a good example of long-term planning and implementation among all the different parties. So lots of numbers with that, both in terms of earned revenue and also foundation support specifically for that. So we're very pleased with that, and we want to continue that. And looking forward, we're pretty much planned through 2024 and 2025. We've already got partnerships in place for festivals all the way through 2025, which is great. So we're already looking at 2026. What do we see as festivals? What's the model? What are the specific events? So that's where I think board input would be very helpful as part of long-term planning. So I think that's where we want to be. We want to be planning a year or two out, have grants in place, partnerships in place. Not that we can't tweak things as we go, but I think it's a chance to really plan ahead and get that long-term support to do things properly. That's a lot of information in a short amount of time. Are there any specific numbers or pages or charts or anything I can highlight?
I think it's great to have all this information. It's like you said, there's a lot to work through, but it's all really, really useful for board members to see. I'm happy to see the trends.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight too, we as staff work with the foundation board to communicate the priorities. So whether it's, trustee priorities, obviously things we want to accomplish, and we want to get everyone thinking bigger strategically. We're past the days of bake sales and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are day-to-day things that make an impact, but we want to be looking long-term. Where do we see ourselves and what do we need and how can we accomplish it?
I'd also like to just point out for your information, the foundation did have a discussion that I guess they're going to officially vote on it at their February board meeting, but the executive and finance committees had met with the financial manager for the endowment. So it's a local fella in charge of it. It's a big fan of the museum. He's a personal donor of the museum and so forth. But this is Stifel. And as the endowment, around what page is that, Mark? Page 2, you see the endowment graph. We have the steady increase since 2016. We're up to over 900,000. Mr. Collins, the person managing the dollars, the accounts, basically says that we're in a safe spot. So that way, when the economy is going gangbusters, we might not go gangbusters in our increase, but we will increase. But if things really go poorly, we won't go poorly that bad, right? So it's a pretty conservative approach to get to that $1 million goal that we'd set some years back. And the foundation revisited that and appreciates the management of those endowment dollars and its growth. And as such, is going to be bringing to the foundation board a recommendation to continue with the current pattern or management process beyond $1 million. And so now they set a limit at 5 million before they revisit it to see if we need to get more aggressive in terms of management options and so forth. So that's what they're thinking right now. So yeah,
it's very actively managed. So Gary with Steeple, they are all the time coming to the committee meetings, board meetings. It's literally a day-to-day communication, open book. So I think that we are getting very active management for a lot less fees than potentially we could get. So even though we're going to wait for the $5 million mark, it's still active management, open communication.
yeah, they're fans.
That's good.
They know what we do for the community, and they know what we do for quality of life and how that has a significant indirect impact on them as a company running local accounts, you know.
We have our representative, Gary is on speed dial and assures us that if we need a check, he'll get it within an hour at any point. Whether it's
Nice.
night, it doesn't matter. So he's very excited.
I'll also bring up, we're probably going to do, so the very simplistic look at the foundation's endowment is that there's three main areas. One, there's the general endowment, and that's the vast majority of it. But there's two restricted endowments, just FYI. The one is the Pete Hennica Memorial Fund, which is at about 140,000, something like that. What we've done with the family who provided that gift is to provide 1 to 2 grants to Virginia graduate students doing work, particularly field work, primarily in the geological sciences, but other related areas can be considered as well. And there is an academic committee that reviews these proposals. So we're going to take a small amount out, and we think we're planning right now. We've already put out the request for proposals, but we're going to probably fund 2 students this year. And what we get in return is that the student, when they conduct their research projects over the summer, they use us as a repository for new specimens. They will contribute a 1-page write-up that we can put into our Virginia Explorer magazine. And we also ask them to be a partner with our dinosaur festival. So we'll put them up and whatnot, but they'll spend 2 days interacting with the public, talking about their geological work and training and so forth. So it's a good partnership. The second thing, maybe a little more, slightly more substantial. Richard Hoffman is our former entomologist. He died at the age of 81 back in 2011, I believe it was. And he left a $100,000 gift for the endowment. And those dollars were meant specifically to support invertebrate related activities, whether it's research, exhibits, education programs, and so forth. And so Cal Ivanov, who of course runs our bug lab, he is coming up for his 10-year promotion to full curator. And this is just FYI, I haven't even had the conversation with him yet, but when he comes up with his promotion package, we're going to be asking him essentially for us kind of a in-lab strategic plan, which would also include how to use the endowment dollars, because those dollars have grown very nicely. It's worth about $160,000 now. So it's grown from we had a few other gifts to support it. So maybe it started out about 110 a decade ago to what we have now at about 160. We're going to ask him to draw down on some of the interest that has accrued over the years and give his program a financial boost. And so that's going to be part of his package, and we're going to kind of talk about that. We'd like to include Art Evans for multiple reasons on that conversation. Not only is he research and collections chair, but of course an ace entomologist himself. So, and we of course have the added support with technician, Liberty Hightower spending 50% of her time there, and Mariah Pedologist Jackson Means spending 100% of his time there. So we think it's time to kind of really kind of give that program a shot in the arm and kind of go for, I don't know what it's going to look like. We have a few ideas, but some kind of exciting research project related to the invertebrate world. So it's nice that we have an endowment that we can finally talk about. It's, you know, it's just the beginning still, but it's nice to know that we can, you know, have these sources of income to, you know, really enhance our mission-based activities.
Sure, that's part of the reason the gift was given in the first place. So that's
That's
really promising.
Yeah. I think Richard would be proud of what Cal and Jackson are doing over there.
Well, I think we have touched on number 4 as well, but just to highlight, of course, we've got a lot of events next week. So we've got our February 10th opening of our Masters by Night exhibit. It's sort of a festival, but it's really focused on the exhibit opening day, which is Saturday, same day as the board meeting. A few events leading up to that, opening reception for members and supporters on the Thursday day. And then, of course, we talked about March 2nd, Speakeasy on Starling. Our next big festival is a Reptile Festival, April 19th to 20th. And then the one following that is going to be our Dinosaur Festival in July 26th to 27th. So I think overall, like I mentioned, we're close to capacity as far as events and programs. So we as staff are very selective. We want to, you know, if we get ideas for events or programs, whatever it might be, we want to look at it strategically. Does it move the needle? Is it mission-based? If not, you know, it's okay to say no. Because we do get a lot of ideas from the community. So we want to be good partners, but we also want to focus on the mission. So yeah, lots of exciting things. That's the highlights again. Great thing about all these events, programs, and festivals, they all either have secured or pending partnerships. That's where we want to be. So that's the highlights. I think we're at the questions, comments, and recommendations phase section.
I got nothing.
Same here.
Okay, great.
Wow.
Well, we appreciate you bringing the, and I'll leave it to you, Ann, if you want to talk to Cord, if he handles that at the full board meeting, just the language of bringing forward the bill, geez, spending too much time thinking about Richmond, bringing forward the budget, but it's perfectly fine too if he defers to you as the person who was the acting chair, so to speak, of this meeting. So we will have minutes available for the committee to go out to those who are absent, as well as for your review. And otherwise, I think we're solid.
Thanks, so.
And I'm happy to back you up, and I think you said you might not be making it at the meeting. So
Oh, yeah, gee, you did say that. Thank you, Nathan.
sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I will sadly miss the meeting, but you are welcome to use my name, bandy it about.
Nathan, are you gonna, I mean, I'm presuming you'll come to executive committee?
Yeah, I'm planning to be there the whole weekend.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, we're planning on just getting some takeout for dinner because we have music in the galleries that Friday night before the board meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
So people can, you know, who are staying overnight or local can come and have dinner and some social time. We'll have that upstairs in the conference room, but then we're setting up the galleries in kind of a special experimental way. We'll see how it goes. But we'll have some live acoustic music going on, and you know, how many tickets we sold?
We sold 22 tickets, but we have 70 people coming. A lot of giveaways.
Yeah. Well, this is actually in partnership with a local nonprofit. So our whole thing is we're doing the ABC license, but doing the beer and wine sales for it. And this other nonprofit's bringing the music in as kind of a quality of life addition to Martinsville. So it's the second time doing this, but yeah, it's kind of small potatoes, but hey, you know, it's good.
Every little bit helps.
You
That
bet.
sounds nice. Yeah.
All right, well, we ended a little early. No one's going to complain about that. Thank you both very much for your time today, and take it easy.
All right, bye.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan.
Thanks,
thank you.
guys. Have a